And here's what we're watching right now. Peel police are searching for a suspect after a shooting in Brampton has left a man with serious injuries. This happened around 12:30 this morning on Clipstone Court near Williams Parkway and Main Street. A man in his 20s suffering several gunshot wounds. He was rushed to a trauma center here in Toronto with critical injuries, but is expected to survive. So far, there has been no description of a suspect. Well, if you're looking for something to do with the kids today, the CNE offering free admission before 1 o'clock. This incentive being offered today and tomorrow, it comes amidst a major labor dispute between X-Place and technical workers. More than 400 workers have been locked out since July 20th. Those visiting the X this year have had to walk through a picket line when entering the fair, which organizers say has discouraged ticket sales and may amount to a $1.5 million loss in revenue. Well, some cautious optimism from Canada's critical automotive sector, despite tough talk from U.S. President Donald Trump on trade and tariffs on the industry. While some fear that leaving Canada out of the U.S.-Mexico trade agreement would spell disaster for our auto industry, others believe the overhauled deal could in fact benefit Canadian auto workers. The new agreement requires 75% of auto content to be made in the NAFTA region and would require 40 to 45% of auto content to be made by workers earning at least $16 per hour. The increased pay for Mexican workers could stem the flow of Canadian auto sector jobs to lower wage areas.
I think this is going to have a positive impact for Canadian workers. The elephant in the room for the renegotiation of NAFTA was really been the low wages for Mexican workers. Having wages of at least $16 an hour, that's going to stop the bleeding of jobs, I will argue, here in Canada to Mexico.
According to Unifor, Canada's auto sector is an $80 billion a year industry, making it the country's top export industry with about 125,000 direct jobs. Now, coming up just after 7 o'clock, we're going to be speaking with a Ryerson professor here on BT to analyze the impact of this U.S.-Mexico trade agreement. Well, this is interesting. Ottawa has just approved a roadside test for pot. The tool can detect traces of cannabis in saliva. This new device can pick up traces of THC, which is the main impairing component in cannabis. The Department of Justice says it is testing different types of drug screening equipment ahead of Canada's legalization of cannabis, which is, of course, on October the 17th. And as marijuana nears legalization, one group is calling on the government to wipe the slate clean for those with nonviolent marijuana charges.
For example, they have trouble in getting across the border to the United States. There are employment opportunities that are lost to them, volunteer opportunities that they can no longer participate in, and they also have diminished access to housing, where background checks are regularly and more frequently becoming the norm. It's time for our government to not just recognize this disproportionate reality, but actually to rectify it.
The advocacy group says that amnesty would apply to almost 500,000 Canadians. The group, called Campaign for Cannabis and Amnesty, also getting a big financial boost from one of Canada's largest pot companies, Aurora Cannabis. The company has reportedly pitched in $50 grand. The Fredericton man accused of killing 4 people, including 2 police officers, expected to plead not guilty. Matthew Vincent Raymond making his first court appearance yesterday to face 4 counts of first-degree murder. Raymond will remain in custody until his next court appearance, which has been set for September the 24th. We're sitting at 6:08. Let's get downstairs to Devo and Winston.